what I thought I would do today is just sort of pay homage to three individuals who really took the time with me to get me to this point where I am in my life. Okay, and obviously they're not here, so they have no idea that I'm speaking on them. But I speak about them all the time. When people ask me what charted your course in life, I'm always highlighting these three individuals. So I wanted to highlight these three individuals, what they did and why they are important to me, and maybe it can be an inspiration for you all. The first one is Miss Williams. Miss Williams was my homeroom teacher in high school. All right, I went to high school, I went to a Cleveland public school, John Marshall High School, and when I was in high school, believe it or not, for those of you who know me, I actually was very quiet and very shy. All right, it was very hard for me to, amongst people that I knew I was okay, but if I was amongst people that I didn't know, I wasn't as vocal as I am right now. And so in my particular homeroom, all my friends were not with me. They were in other homerooms. So I was amongst people who I didn't really know. And so I would come into class and I would pretty much sit all the time. And then Mrs. Williams asked for someone to be a rep for our homeroom on student council. All right? And of course, I looked away because I didn't want to be chosen. And no one raised their hand, so eventually she said, "Jeff, you're going to be our homeroom rep." Okay, and of course that brought lots of anxiety for me because it meant that not only did I have to attend these meetings, but I then had to come back and stand up in front of everyone and explain what went on at these meetings. All right, so I did it. And I was able to get through it with a little bit of anxiety, but I was able to get through it, okay? The second person, I'm gonna come back to Ms. Williams. The second person, when I was in 11th grade, and I was part of the executive council, they asked me to represent John Marshall on a citywide group. Okay, this was known as Look Up to Cleveland. Look Up to Cleveland was basically a group that brought together 11th graders at various different high schools, and pretty much we would go around the city and look at things that we would improve if we were running the city. And then there would be this big thing where we would give our civic vision for the city of Cleveland. All right, and this took place over the entire 11th grade year. All right, so I was chosen to represent that, and there was someone who was running this particular organization, the director, who really stood out. The name may sound sweet, the name might sound familiar. It's Mrs. Sweet, all right? It's President Sweet's wife. She was always very vocal. She was always introducing me to key people in the city of Cleveland. She was always trying to get me to get involved in things that maybe I could get an internship down the road. So her leadership and just her own vocal nature really stood out for me. The last person I want to pay homage to is a professor at OU. I went to Ohio University. This is Dr. David Duskudner. I went to OU for both my bachelor's and my master's and my PhD. All right, but when I completed my master's, I had won a scholarship to go further and get my PhD. And I can get it in any field that I wanted to. So that was like a big decision for me. Where do I want to go to? What area do I want to get my PhD in? I had received a bachelor's in telecommunications with video production and advertising, and I received a master's in media management. So I sort of wanted to do something that was media oriented, but not necessarily within the telecommunications department. All right, so I decided, or actually someone encouraged me, a friend of mine encouraged me to go and speak with Dr. Duskudner. He was in the School of Interpersonal Communication. And interpersonal communication at that time was well known for not being a very diverse department. It was primarily white, and international. But there was really not a lot of African Americans or Hispanics or anything like that in that particular department. But this person, a friend of mine, encouraged me to go over and speak with Dr. Discutner because he was a new graduate director of that department. The previous director didn't see the need to diversify or anything like that, but Discutner was really trying to reach out to make this department more diverse. And so I went to speak with him. Very engaging man. I'm not sure if my colleagues know who David Discutner is. Very engaging man. He's actually a white professor, so it's not that whole notion of you need a black professor to bring blacks in. He was actually a white professor. He brought me and a few others in. He allowed us to engage in the cultural research on race and poverty and things like that that are really important to me. And he really showed that he really cared about our agenda, all right, as opposed to the previous leadership. And as a result, I ended up being the third African-American male to graduate with a PhD in this particular department. The first one was the year before, all right, in '98. And then I was the third because the person right in front of me grabbed his before me. All right, so it's that type of leadership that really stands out for me. I want to give another quote. Noted author James Hume said, "The art of communication is the language of leadership." So the purpose of these three stories is that communication and leadership is important. These three individuals inspired me to become the person I am today. Ms. Williams saw a person who was quiet, who was shy, and actually helped me find my voice, all right? You may think, well, she made you, but sometimes that's what needs to be done. She knew that I was a good student. She knew that I was getting good grades, but I was just rather shy and maybe just needed that little boost. And that's what she did for me. Mrs. Sweet showed me that a vocal leader can keep you connected and actually inspire you to do great things, because she was always connecting me to new people, more people. And those people are still those individuals are still part of my life today. And Dr. Discutner taught me the importance of reaching out to those who society tends to silence, because he actually saw that the department, when he took over as graduate director, the department lacked diversity. And so he went out and really tried his best to recruit and make it more inclusive for everyone. So that was really important for me.